Hi, hello everyone. Today is Wednesday, September 11, 2019, and I just checked YouTube and this is journal number 41, which is kind of amazing. I didn't think I'd be still recording these journals. I thought I was going to chicken out and stop recording long time ago, but I'm still happy to do so. I'm not happy about my hair, as always. I think I just spent 5 minutes pushing it down before hitting the record button, and I still don't know what to do with my fringe. I think I want to grow it out. That's why it's so long over my face like that. But I'm also maybe not ready to comb it to the side. So that's that. Not wearing any makeup today, which also doesn't help my capability of being satisfied with my own image. But that's that. I hope you're all very well. Today is a chill day. I've been having a quieter week so far. And this Wednesday in Argentina, we celebrate Teachers' Day. So my kids don't have school. Teachers get the day off in remembrance of this former president who brought free education to Argentina. And therefore my kids are upstairs, and my husband went to the supermarket to do the grocery shopping, so I thought, I just thought I would record a quick journal. Today is not going to be so long because last time Mom and I talked about a lot of things, and hopefully to keep the flow of the journal moving, I thought I would record more often to also motivate me to work and to get things ready to show to you guys. So this week I have a new pattern out. Thank you so much for everyone who supported that pattern. It's called the Farm Twist Jacket. It's over here. And if you have been a long-time friend of the journal, that means that you have seen this pattern and this swatch many times. I think I swatched for this jacket, I don't know how long ago, but long time ago, and it only came through this year. And then when I was ready with this design, it was the wrong season to publish it, so I decided to wait until the fall. Also, test knitting took a long time because it's quite an elaborate pattern. So anyway, it's out. This is my newest pattern. It's called the Farm Twist Jacket, and it's a very unoriginal name. Farm Twist is the name of the yarn that I used from Madeline Tosh. It's a DK weight yarn, and the colorway that I used is called Pavement. And back when I was knitting and designing on this, I talked about this pattern a lot and why I was having problems or difficulties knitting it and then writing it and grading it. But since I haven't talked about it in a very long time, I think I can do that today. So this pattern begins at the neckline. So you cast on the stitches for the fronts and the back, and also you cast on stitches, I don't remember how many they are, but I think it's 8 stitches for these shoulder cables. And then you work everything in one piece, so the fronts and the back grow because you start increasing stitches at each side of this cable piece. So as you can see, we have different cable motifs. We have a vine, we have zigzags, we have cables and twisted stitches and then vines again. So what happens is that me as the pattern writer, as you increase stitches here at the shoulder section, I need to tell you what to do with each of these new stitches. As you can see, I increased a stitch here that then becomes a twisted stitch. So with each row, I need to tell you each stitch what it will become and how you should knit each one of these new stitches. There are other ways in which I could have done this. I could have, for example, told you to increase maybe 10 stitches, like repeat these directions until you have 10 stitches in this section and then work a new cable, but then it would look a bit like all of the cables are chopped off. The top of the cables is chopped off, and I didn't want that. I wanted the cables to emerge from the shoulder slope. Also, I could have done the shoulder shaping in a different stitch pattern. I could have done the shoulder shaping, for example, in garter stitch or in stockinette stitch. Sometimes I do that. It looks like you have a stripe here. And then when you finish with all the shoulder shaping, you start with the patterning, right? But for this design in particular, in my mind, I had all over cables. I wanted cables everywhere. I didn't want any interruptions in the fabric. So as you can imagine, for my size, the shoulder instructions took something like 50 rows of stitch by stitch instructions. When you are knitting it from the pattern, I don't think it's so complicated, because basically your brain knows that everything that you have to pay attention to is whatever happens to these stitches that are at each side of this center cable. So you only pay attention to those fragments of the row that actually give you a new direction. The rest of the row is basically knitting pattern. But for me, writing that took a lot of work. And then, usually, for those interested, my process goes like this. I don't write my pattern before starting. I just have an idea. For example, this is one of my notebooks for ideas. I usually write stuff down like that. And then I draw, let's see, this new design that I'm working on. Sometimes I draw an arrow, something like that, so to indicate the direction. As you can see, I'm marking here where's the provisional cast on or live stitches, and I do all these kinds of notes. Then I make some notes on my notebook about stitch counts and things that I have to take into consideration when I start, and then I write my pattern as I go. So it's row by row instructions that I write. In this case, I didn't use a notebook for the farm twist jacket for the row by row instructions, because I could already see how long each row was going to be. And what I did was I was copying and pasting the instructions from the previous rows and then adding the new stitches or the new directions that corresponded to every new row that I was adding. But I finished my sample. I finished knitting my sample with a draft that is only in my size. So I basically only wrote the instructions for the medium size. And then I do all the work of grading those instructions into lots of different sizes. Right? So there are some things that you can foresee when you are knitting, sorry. So when you are knitting your own sample, you can already, and when you're writing your own sample, you can already foresee that this is going to be hard to transform into multiple sizes, because the directions are so specific to this particular size that trying to take or add centimeters or inches to this bag is going to be a lot of work. So that's what happened with this design. As I said, in my mind, I wanted this design to be all over cables for me and for all of the sizes. So what happened? As you can see, the cables go up to the sides of this jacket, and in order to make this jacket wider, of course I can add some panels of like stockinette stitch or texture stitches. I do that with a lot of designs, but it didn't work for what I had in mind for this particular design. For this design, I wanted cables, so that means that for the size large, for example, I can add a few purl stitches here and it won't make a great difference, but for the size extra large, I need to already add another cable or perhaps another zigzag, right? So for each size, I need to add a different amount of cables or vines or whatever. And also my size is the third size in my scale, so for the size extra small and extra small, I don't have enough room to add this vine here, right? So also grading down, it's quite a challenge. So basically what I did was I created two sets of sizes. So my size along with the extra small, small and large have this back neck width, and then there's another set of sizes from extra large to 5 extra large that have a slightly wider neckline, not a lot wider, but they have another cable running down the back neck. But also I wrote instructions for a very long slope, so maybe this wide. And then I told different sizes to stop the directions. Okay, stop the directions at row. A row here for the extra small, a row here for the small, here for the medium, here for the large, etc., right? So everyone has the instructions for a very long shoulder slope, but different sizes must stop the directions sooner or later according to how many cables they need to have in their sweater. I hope this is not too boring. I just find knitting designs so interesting, and I know many times I design really simple sweaters that are super easy to knit and to design, but then when something challenges me, I get really excited about the ways that I solve the problem, and I know that maybe some designers might get ideas like, oh, maybe I can use that to solve this or that. So I like sharing some of the behind the scenes also. So that's how I wrote this pattern. I had to separate the instructions in 2 PDFs. So those sizes with the narrower neckline are 1 PDF, and then the larger sizes with the wider neckline are a separate PDF. And what else? Yeah, and that's that. It took a lot of work and a lot of patience from my test knitters to go through these long documents and knit samples out of them, but I think we did a good job. My technical editor, Kate, she did also a really great job finding things that I didn't take into consideration when writing. Yeah, so I hope you like it. I'm gonna insert some photos of this at the beginning of the video, so you probably saw that. As you can see, it's slightly cropped, it's slightly boxy, it's a shape that I'm very comfortable wearing, and I think it goes nicely with clothes that are a bit looser. And sometimes when I'm wearing very loose layers, I don't want to add another jacket that it's also very long and very loose, because then it just doesn't look so well for my taste or for whatever the trend is now. I know crop jackets are more trendy right now, so I'm influenced by that too. So I honestly have been wearing this jacket all winter. We took the photos for this pattern back in April, beginning of April. so that I could actually wear the jacket without ruining it. So yeah, so that's my featured pattern of the week. I have an FO, but I left it upstairs, so I'm gonna go get that and be right back. Okay, I finished Sebi's socks. By the way, thank you everyone who sent me comments about my mom's health and her participation in the video. She was feeling really poorly during that video, and she was feeling a lot better by that evening. We really pampered her. We made chicken soup for her, and Sebi, my youngest, was doing all the cuddling. So by the time I drove her home, she was feeling all right. Anyway, during our live video that we recorded about 10 days ago, I told everyone that it was a Sunday, and on Monday, my youngest son, Sebi, he was going to go on a school trip, and I was making some socks for him, and I was working on the second sock, and I think I was up to here maybe when I showed them, and I was not sure I was going to make it, but I wanted to show him that I was committed to making something that he could take on a trip. But I made it. I finished his pair of socks, and he took them on his trip. I stayed up very late finishing them, and he couldn't go to sleep. He's so sweet. He kept checking on me and asking me if I was done, and he kept reassuring me, saying things like, okay, don't worry if you cannot make them. But then he kept coming to check if I was done with them. He's so sweet. And then I think it was about midnight, so I sneaked into his room to put his socks next to his bed so he would find them in the morning. And I think like I might have made like breathing noise or something, so he turns around in his bed, he was still awake, and says, did you finish those? And yes, so he was super happy. He woke up in the morning, he was wearing his socks, and then he left for camp. It was only 3 days, guys. It was not that bad, but every time he goes away, I miss him so much. Anyway, for Sebi's socks, I used Sweetgeorgia Tough Sock. Here in the top, it's almost a black colorway, and I'm pretty sure this colorway is called Cauldron. And then for the red portions, I used the Plucky Knitter Primo fingering in the colorway Pucker Up. And the cashmere, it holds up well in the top, but as you can see, the bottom of the sock is already very peely. I just de-peeled it a bit so that they wouldn't be so disgusting, because my kids walk barefoot on their socks, and they go outside and everything, so they are full of matter. So anyway, this was a huge accomplishment for me. I was knitting at the time 2 projects for my kids, Nano sweater and Sebi socks, and I don't know, it just made me feel really good to be able to finish this in time to give them to Sebi. And I don't need to prove my love to my children, but sometimes I need to prove myself that I'm also investing time in personal knitting projects, which is really important because knitting is my job, but it's also my therapy. So I need to be mindful and make time for those things. I keep checking on my orchid. I know you guys have seen her a few times in my journal, and I have I have several orchids. 3 of them are in blooming season. So this was a phalaenopsis that was was in bloom maybe for 3 months. I had her flowers here, and now she's finally done, and she has decided that it's time to go rest. So I'm letting her do her thing, but I'm kind of sad that she's not here in the seen anymore. And then I have another orchid that I will insert a photo here that I keep looking at when I work. I face my garden, and it's a huge cymbidium, and I think she's 5 years old. This is her 4th blooming season, and every season she gives me more and bigger flowers, which is amazing. And then I also have another Phalaenopsis that has been trying to bloom for months, but it's still in the process of like creating that stem that holds the flowers. So I think I still have to wait for her for a bit more. Okay, that's my finished object for today. I have 3 works in progress. No, I have a sort of finished object that I want to show you. It's almost finished, but not completely. It's in my BA bag. And oh guys, just a second, my phone is ringing. That was my husband who's doing grocery shopping, asking me about what coffee I want. So this is the shawl that I have been working on, the bobble shawl. I'm using yarn by Yarn Experiments. Monica from Yarn Experiments dyed these 2 colorways inspired by Argentina. This is her monkey sock base. It's a fingering weight merino nylon blend. And this colorway is called Merienda. And this colorway is called Rosario. And okay, I finished the body of the shawl and I was going to block it today, but then I thought I always have my stuff blocking when I want to record, so I left it to block when I finish this journal, and then next time you see this is going to be when I publish the pattern. So you're going to see it unblocked and then as a finished pattern. So here it is. I super love it. It was an experiment using bubbles in a different color, and also I wanted it to have sort of like the look of some woven blankets that I had been seeing in Pinterest. I added sort of like bubble rounds or circles here in the bottom, as you can see. This is a lot of bubbles, so I don't know if I want to like work on more bubbles soon. I might be taking a break from bubbling for a while, and I'm also planning to add a little fringe, and I still haven't decided. I think I want to add 2 fringe, so I'm gonna try and see how it looks like if I add a short fringe here in this beige band and then a beige fringe at the bottom. We'll see. I don't know if I have a lot of yarn to add the fringe, but if it's not too long, it should be enough. I always like to have enough yarn left over to ensure that people who make this pattern will have enough yarn to complete their own sample. But I think I'm safe with that amount. So it's a crescent, it's very long, it will be longer when I block it. And I just love having a lot of bubbles wrapped around my neck like that. I'm really excited about this new design. I hope you'll all like it when it's ready. And yeah, so that's that. This is for reference, 5 months old. 5 months old? Yeah, a bit more. 5-month-old BA bag from our bag company, Hohi & Company. And it's hosting a 2 skein project with plenty of room to spare. Okay, next work in progress, it's actually on hold for a while. It's Nano's sweater. that I talked about last time. I told you guys I was blocking it. I reblocked it. I kind of erased what was going on here on the sides with these diagonal lines, and it all looks very neat now. I know it doesn't show so much on the screen. So now what I have to do is I have to pick up stitches and work on the sleeves, which you can tell by my face how excited I am to work on the sleeves for a man size sweater, and how shocked I am that I have a man size son. But I'm probably going to work on the math that I need to cast on these sleeves, and then I will be able to work on these when I want something soothing, something that I don't have to think a lot. And I think, I don't know if you watched our last YouTube video, but I talked about how I don't feel confident enough to write a pattern for this because there's something wrong with the side paneling, and I just don't think the design is good enough. It's definitely good enough for my kid, but sadly, I'm sorry if I'm disappointing you, but I don't think this is going to become a finished, a published design. So that's that. So a lot of projects that won't become designs, and this is also a project that won't become a design. So I want to show you some very old socks that are one of my favorite pairs of socks. So these are the socks that I'm talking about. I recently re-knit the toes for these socks using the same yarn that I use for my farm twist jacket. So I'm showing you these socks because I'm trying to replicate them slightly differently, but almost the same. And these socks are made out of 100% alpaca yarn. This yarn I purchased in 2014. I went to Portland, Oregon for work to teach. And on the last day, my friend Carol and Gail, we drove up to Mount Hood, and we saw, during our road trip, we saw a sign that said Alpaca Farm. And we didn't know there was an alpaca farm there, so we just followed the signs, and then we ended up in this farm. I think we clapped or called for someone, and then they came and opened the gate for us. And turns out that this farm was a big alpaca farm, and they were creating their own yarns. They gave us a demonstration. They had spinning material and yarns. It was fantastic. We got to see all the alpacas and play with them. Completely unexpected. During that visit, of course, I wanted to support the business, so I purchased one of their skeins of alpaca. I think it was worsted weight alpaca, and probably 150 gram skein. I don't think it had a tag or a yardage or anything. And as soon as I came home, I cast on some socks. I didn't know what else to knit with the yarn. Sometimes alpaca is a bit itchy on my head. So for a hat for my forehead, I thought that it could have been a bit itchy. And I don't really wear mittens where I'm from. So I decided to make some socks, and I thought, whatever, if they don't last long, I don't care. It's gonna be fine. Turns out that these socks have been in constant rotation since 2014-15. So they are 4 years old at least. and they are just fine. And actually, when these socks broke, like they got a hole in the merino nylon section of the socks and not on the alpaca section of the socks. I have to be honest with you. I have shaved these socks twice. Last time I shaved them was probably in March, when it started getting a bit colder, so that I was going to wear them again. So I shaved them because the sole of the socks was a bit peely and they didn't look so great. I don't mind that they look like a big fuzzy ball of sock, but it just had a lot of peels. And if you look at the inside of the sock, you can see that the heel is completely felted, which is adorable. It just, you put your feet in there and it's just amazing warmth. They are not too thick, guys. I've hiked in these socks when it's really cold. I've skied in these socks. I don't ski in these socks so much, mostly because for skiing I prefer longer socks to protect me more against the harm caused by the ski boot. But sometimes I don't have clean longer socks and I just wear these and they are amazingly warm. My feet have never been cold with alpaca socks. So I had yarn that I had purchased to make another pair for me, because I don't think that anyone else gets their feet as cold as I do. So this yarn, I'm making them slightly shorter because I have the suspicion that I won't have enough yarn to make them as long. I don't know why. I haven't weighed them. I probably should weigh them and see, but I have the suspicion that this won't be enough for the same length of yarn. Anyway, in 2016, I went to New York with my husband and we were staying there. We went to Rhinebeck, and I think that because I started knitting that Rhinebeck season is coming, and I remember the only time that I was there. I remembered that trip, and I remembered that I had been to Nitty City, which is a yarn store in New York, and I didn't want to buy just any yarn without a purpose. I do that all the time, but this time I was trying to be more focused on, okay, only buy something you really want to make. And you guys, the only thing I could think that I really wanted to make was another pair of those alpaca socks. So I saw this alpaca, which is now sadly discontinued. It's called Frog Tree Alpaca. And I got 2 skeins of this. This was, at the time, $8 per ball, so it wasn't super cheap. But it just meant that I bought yarn that I came home with, that I knew exactly what I wanted to make with it. So I've cast on for my socks. As you can see, I've already divided for the heel flap, so they are going to be shorter. They are going to be like an inch shorter than the original pair. And the color is quite similar. Maybe I'll have enough to make the toes with alpaca also, because what happened with this pair is that I didn't have enough yarn to complete the toes. And yes, yes, and I'm using 2.5 millimeter needles. This is a sport weight alpaca. It says 100% alpaca, sport weight. Suggested needle, US 5 to 6, so that's 3.75 to 4 millimeters. It's 50 grams of alpaca and 130 yards, so it is not a lot of yardage for a sport weight, because alpaca is really heavy. And I am using 2.5 millimeter needles for my socks, because I want them to be kind of dense. It doesn't look super dense though. And as you can see, my ribbon sort of sucks. It's horrible, but it's my ribbing, guys. It's the best I can do. And what else? Yes, and I'm using 54 stitches. So the top of the sock is 1 by 1 ribbing, and the body of the leg of the sock, or the main pattern, is 2 by 1 ribbing. Yeah, so this is living in my beautiful field bag by Fringe company, which I love this. I don't know what I got it dirty with. It's not water. I probably spilled something on it. Probably wine. It's probably wine. I never got around to cleaning it though. I know that I talked about washing it here in the journal. I asked for recommendations. I never washed it. I don't know if I will. But I use this little bag all the time too. And yeah, so those are, sorry, I have another work in progress. So I finally started the Lacy Cardigan that I talked about during last journal. So this is the beginning. This cardigan is going to be, this cardigan is going to be sideways. So this is actually the bottom, or the bottom of the back, or the bottom of the front. I haven't decided yet in which direction I will knit it. And yes, so I'm using different lace patterns. I don't have the swatch with me, but I've swatched a couple of different lace patterns. So it's going to be sort of like a sampler style. I'm using something new here as the edging. I'm doing some ribbed stitches, but also I'm adding an I-cord edge so that my stitches look neater. So I think it's working out really well. Yeah, so basically this is what it's going to look like from the back, but I don't think I can show you yet more details. Maybe when it grows I can explain better how it will work. The fall knit along is going great. Next time I record the journal I will talk about all the sponsors that we have, because I haven't been able to put that together properly and I want to give everyone a nice shout out. And lastly, I wanted to share with you, if you don't mind, a new product that I will be launching next week for Joji Company, which is ready. Finally, I have a finished prototype for this. So let me tell you the story of this. I own a set of Haya interchangeable needles that look like this. These are the tips, and of course I've got cables that go with those, and they come with their own case. And I've owned this set for now. Okay, my Knit Picks set is about 10 years old, and then my Haya set is probably 4 to 5 years old. I've never lost any of these tips or any of these cables, and I know it's because Haya has a nice case that comes with the set. Nice as in function, but I have to be honest with you, I never liked the case. I never really liked the way the case looks. And this is just, sometimes I'm very picky with the things that I use and carry around. It's not because I think that other people having this case, you know, when I see it on someone else, I don't think it looks ugly. I don't think it's ugly. It just doesn't go with some of the things that I carry around, and it was a blue all patterned case. And I kept thinking I would love to have something that looks like a wallet to put my needles. And I love the option that Haya Haya has, because their set is quite compact. So their case was actually like a square, like this big, a square in fabric. I don't think it protected the needles too much, because it was just fabric. It didn't have any like solid or firm material around the needles. But every time I have to travel, I just put that set in my suitcase that takes no space, and I know that I have any needle that I can need during my trip. If I want to work ribbing and change my needle, if I want to, anything I want to knit, I have my set of Haya Haya with me. So I carry it around all the time. And every time I opened my bag or my suitcase, I saw that bright blue case and I didn't like it. So when we started Joji Company with my friends and we finished our first project bag, the BA bag, I said, you know what I would love to have next? I would love to have a wallet that has this function. And we've been working on this needle case since April. We've made a lot of prototypes. There was always something wrong with one of them. And eventually we have now a finished prototype. So I'm going to show you two prototypes that didn't make the cut. This was the first prototype. As you can see, I wanted something to cover the needles when you place them here on these locks. I wanted something to keep the needles from falling, but also I don't like those cases that have the flap that then when I roll them, the flap sort of makes this and I cannot really keep it in place. So I asked them to add these little snaps so that when I open my case, I actually don't see my needles. It looks really like a wallet. This case now is holding my needles inside it and you cannot see them. So here are my needles, as you can see. This prototype also didn't make the cut, but I always keep a prototype that we cannot sell. So this is my needle case. What was wrong with this first prototype is that it looked neat, but I didn't like this padded finish. And also I felt that the leather wasn't protective of the needles enough. I felt that when I put it in my purse, the wallet tended to do that, and I wanted something that was a bit more firm. And also for this first prototype, the artisan didn't fully understand what we wanted. So we also wanted the case to have a space to put your cables and accessories without taking extra room, right? So we didn't want another flap for accessories. We wanted it to be as compact as we could. So we designed these hidden pockets that go behind your needles. So for the first prototype, the maker didn't really understand what we were going for. And as you can see, my fingers end there. So the pockets are really small for the cables. And also there's like a back piece of leather there that was not very, like when I wanted to put my needles there, it kept, they kept getting stuck against that layer of fabric. So we modified this prototype. We made two prototypes in between that one and this one. I don't have those, the workshop has those, but then this was almost the final one. but we decided not to go with the white stitchy. So when you see the finished product, you won't see this white stitching that I have in my case. But as you can see, we have 2 pockets hidden back there. In one of them, I store all my cables. It's really deep, like it goes all the way. It goes all the way up now. And so the pocket is actually 2 pockets with 1 zipper to take less space. And the zippers meet here at the middle. And here I have another pocket where I keep stitch markers and stuff that I might need. One of them just decided to leave. Stuff that I might leave when I travel. So I pack everything here and I just close it as a wallet. And this is my needle case. This is all I take when I travel, and I have all my notions and my needles in one place. Needless to say, I am, you know guys, I'm crazy for compact stuff. I love practical stuff that it's compact and minimal. It took us a long time and several attempts, but we're super happy with our finished interchangeable needle wallet. And these are the 2 colors that we will have it available in. So black, black and beige, beige. Because black, yeah, so the black is ultra black with HRAS snaps and zippers, and the beige is ultra beige with also, let me position the zippers properly. There you go. We have initially made a prototype with needle numbers. So we had added the US needle numbers 2, 3, 4, blah, blah, blah. But then we realized that maybe you want to use this for different type of needles, like crochet hooks or short double pointed needles, or maybe your set doesn't have all of these sizes, so it was more confusing than it was helpful. So we just left off the engraving for the needle sizes. And there's room to hold 10 pairs of tips, needle tips. These interchangeable needle wallets will go will be up for sale in our website possibly this Friday. I don't want to guarantee that. We have a limited amount and we are hoping to see if you guys like them. Then we will make more. We know that not everyone uses interchangeable needles as I do. We are trying to work on a solution for fixed circular needles. We haven't found yet one that we like, but we're working on one. And basically what we want to know is if people are really into this kind of accessories, because they are a lot more difficult to make. They are probably more expensive than project bags because there are so many small leather parts that need to be sewn in very specific ways. So we're trying out, and we're excited to launch a proper new product finally to our website. So we hope you can check it out, not to buy it. Go check it out, go show it some love. You can follow our accessory company at Joji Co. No, it's jojineeds.com /shop, and it's at Joji Co on Instagram. So with that, I'm gonna leave you guys until next week. Please let me know if you have any questions, if you'd like me to talk about something in particular for next journal. Let me know if you like this shorter. I don't know if it's shorter, but to me it feels shorter than other episodes, and hopefully see you next week. Bye!